What is up guys, this is Wim and in this video we will create the track Freedom from Stephan Jolk from scratch. Let's preview the template.
Freedom.
Now let's get started by creating the kick and bass. We're gonna choose a very nice and punchy kick for this. I think this one could work great. We're gonna pitch it up by 1 because we're gonna be in the G minor scale here. Now let's try to create this bass in Diva. And let's just create this melody real quick. It's very simple. And it just goes like this. So let's start tweaking this patch. We're gonna use the DCO mode for this and we're gonna just use this very simple saw wave. Turn up this feedback a little bit to get this nice analog feeling. And for this bass, I think we wanna use the bite filter because it has a nice tonality. Let's get rid of this lag over here and rather apply the second envelope over here, which we're gonna replace with the analog envelopes. So let's just make this a bit more plucky real quick. Let's just quick and easy turning the sustain down and also the decay. And we want to have a quite strong envelope on the filter here. And that's actually already it. Let's have a look how this sounds. Of course, we want to turn this down by 1 octave. This already sounds quite good. Let's do a little bit of mixing on that. And first of all, let's try to add my favorite effect here, the decapitated distortion, which just has this really nice and analog texture. So this one is already compressing the sound very slightly and also giving this nice subtle distortion effect. And in Stephan Jolk's track we also have this very strong delay effect. Let's try to recreate this in the Echo Boy here. This time we don't want to have any stereo width here at all. We want to have it quite mono, so let's just turn this down. We also don't want to have too many sub-frequencies in the mix and maybe also not too many high frequencies. Let's see how that sounds. Let's add a little bit of saturation here. And maybe slight longer feedback. And what we are hearing in Stephan Jolk's track is that it's having a quite strong transient, the bass line, and we're not getting this out of the Diva here. So let's just try to add something where we can add a little bit more transient. I'm gonna try the drum bass for this. We don't really need the drive here. Let's just turn up the crunch a little bit and see how that sounds. And then we're gonna use this transient mod here, maybe turned up quite high, but let's just tweak that while playing. Of course, this one is turning up the volume quite a bit, so let's just match that with the input. So we're definitely adding a nice transient over here with this effect, and it just really helps cutting through the mix and also making it a bit more dynamic. By the way, we have to turn the BPM here up a little bit to 125 to match it exactly. And let's just do some quick EQing here, cutting away a little bit of that. Maybe boosting here a little bit. And let's definitely add quite a strong sidechain over here. And we want to apply the sidechain effect here to cut away a little bit of that delay, which is just spreading out on the kick hit over here. And we definitely don't want to have that too much. Now let's just add some group processing real quick. We're going to add a little bit of compression here to just glue the kick and the bass together. And maybe we can also add some distortion later on. So that is already grooving way better. Let's try to add my new favorite distortion plugin here from Analog Obsession. I think here it already works quite good. I usually like it really between 55 and 60. And this time it's just really having a subtle effect, but it's giving this nice preamplifier distortion here. This time we can also try the equalizer. This is just boosting the low frequencies, so adding some really nice sub, and then we can also cut away a little bit of the higher sub frequencies in the mix. So if you have some good speakers, you'll probably hear that we are already coming quite a long way with this simple group processing here. Let's just keep going and try to create our first drum sounds. So the hi-hat sound is actually quite simple. We're just gonna use a sound like this over here, and we actually don't have any velocity changes here. We just apply a very basic 16th pattern, and now we're just gonna do some basic EQing to really fit it in the mix. And we want to cut away the high frequencies here a little bit. Let's try to find a snare sound which is also fitting the track. I'm already working on a clap/snare sample pack right here. Maybe we can find something here. Yeah, the number 5 is sounding really good here. Maybe we can fit it in the mix. This one already sounds quite good, but it's also sounding quite dry. So let's just add a little bit of reverb here real quick. And we don't want to have too many of the high frequencies here. So let's just turn that down. And of course, we want to have this in a high quality mode. Let's go on with a shaker sound. Let's try to work with this one. And we want to have this a little bit more plucky. So with some checkers, if you want to add a little bit of drive to your track, you can just move this slightly forward and try to find the sweet spot here. And then you want to fade it in just slightly so it's not sounding too harsh, and we also don't need too much of that tail here. So that way it just sounds a little bit more like a hi-hat, and we're just getting a little bit more of that progressive feeling. Let's just try to EQ this a little bit and just cut away some of those high frequencies. And in our reference track, this is actually more of a stereo shaker, so I'm gonna show you this trick here. I already made my own preset here. This is called the Haas effect, where you just take that delay and just make the timing so short that they are actually playing at almost the same time. But because you delay this one here a little bit, it just spreads out into the stereo field, and you can take this mono sound and just make it nice and stereo. Usually I try to avoid those effects because they can cause some phasing if you later convert it back into mono. But this time we're just gonna use a very slight amount here, and I will show you the effect in the imager effect here real quick. So if you don't have that effect, it just looks like this, a mono shaker. And let's just turn it on. So we are very nicely spreading this out in the stereo field, but as I said, be careful with those effects and rather try to achieve some stereo with some other effects that don't cause some phasing. But that actually works good for now. Let's also apply some group processing on the drums here. And you guys know I really like to use this compressor from Arturia on the drums. And we actually don't need to tweak it at all, it just already works perfect. Let's just play the effect of this again. So very nicely compressing all the drum sounds here. And that's actually already it for the drums. Let's go on with the synth sounds. And let's try to create this super fat main synth sound of the track. Now I'm actually quite sure that Stephan Jolk is using his Moog for this synth, because with the Moog you can just create this really nice and fat saw synth sounds. So let's also try to use the Diva emulation of this. And we want to use all 3 oscillators for this to get this really nice fat sound. We're going to turn them all down here by 2 octaves. And we also want to detune them quite a bit so we get this really nice and detuned sound. This time we'll use the multi-mode filter here, and we can turn it all the way up for now. Already sounds really nice and fat. Let's also add a little bit of noise here. And we're also going to turn the feedback up slightly. Now we already created quite a huge sound with that. Let's just make it even bigger by stacking the sound up 2 times over here. And that just really gets effective if you also pan each sound to another side. And for that we're going to use the voice map here and maybe turn it up to something like 70 over here. And then we of course also have to apply it in the voice map modulator to the left and to the right. And if you only want to use those 2 oscillators, we can also just turn it down to only 2 voices over here. So now you have a really nice stereo sound. So let's just add a little bit of resonance on this filter here. So if we turn this cutoff filter down later on, we get this really nice sound. And let's also tweak the envelope here. We want to have a quite long decay, and we're going to turn the sustain down here quite a bit. And that way that sound is just slowly decaying. Now we already have this very nice and fat Moog sound. Let's just add a little bit of processing before we tweak that melody. We want to add quite a big hall reverb over here. Now I already have a Valhalla vintage verb brought it up over here. And we have this very nice and big hall reverb. So let's see how this sounds. Already sounds way bigger. Now because we already have this nice bass line, of course we don't need the low frequencies in here. If you're having this in solo, you will think you are losing a lot of punch with this, but in the mix you will actually not hear that the low frequencies are missing. So now let's just add a very slight background delay. We're gonna use it in the ping pong mode over here and just turning it up to 20% or something. And then we can try to create this really nice cutoff and resonance filter over here. So that way we're just creating a little bit more movement in the track and it just keeps on playing, and that one just really helps to creating those big atmospheres. So let's just try to recreate this melody real quick. So as I said, we are in the G minor chords here, so we're just gonna create the first note with a G. And this is actually 1 octave too low, so let's turn it up. And then we're also gonna add in the 3rd and the 2nd over here. And you can see we are not getting this really nice and smooth glide over here. So let's just go back into Diva real quick. And for this, we're going to turn up the glide here slightly. And to actually have an effect, we also need to put it into the legato mode over here. So now we're just getting this really nice and subtle glide. We can even turn it up a bit more. Now let's just take this and duplicate it real quick. And this time the melody should look something like this. Now let's just take this and duplicate it. For the second hit we're having the same melody, but at the end he's actually changing the melody here up quite a bit, and it's adding this really nice interest right in front of the next bar that is starting. So what he's doing is he's going down to the D sharp here actually. Then we are going to the F, and then we are going back to the G. And if you add in the notes here in between, it should sound something like this. Now I'm actually not 100% sure if that's the exact melody, but it should work for now. Now let's see how this sound actually sounds in our track. What we are hearing in this original track is that he's even adding another noise layer on the synth sound. This is just really helping to push this track forward a little bit and creating a big impact on the drops. So let's try to recreate this noise sound. And for that, we're just going to duplicate this layer over here. We don't need the echo over here, and we can cut away a little bit more of the frequencies. And we are also changing the melody here up a little bit. This is the white noise layer over here. It will hit on every single lead sound over here, but we want to have it slowly decaying into the background on the first one. and also on the last one where we're adding this really nice and longer melody. So let's create the sound with Endeavor. Of course, we don't need any of those oscillators, and we're going to turn the noise up here all the way. Now this time we want to have actually a little bit more decay, and we're also going to use the Moog filter for this one and just turn it up down very slightly. And we also want to spread this noise out quite a bit in the stereo field, so we can even turn this up a little bit more. Yeah, we can actually turn it down here a little bit. So we can shorten this decay up here a little bit more and maybe add a little bit more release time. So it's just really slowly decaying here. So that already sounds quite close. Let's just take all the elements and just arrange them here real quick, so we can also add a little bit of automations. Now guys, I just came up with this little arrangement over here, and now I want to show you how Stephan Jolk is just adding those really nice and big build-ups right in front of his drops. So you can see we just have a simple automation on the lead here, so just gently moving in over here. And now we want to take this white noise layer and duplicate it. But this time we actually want to create an up filter right here. And the easiest way to do that is actually just turning the sustain here all the way up, so you don't have any automations on this thing here. And we're just going to make it quick and easy and use an utility and just simply automate the volume level over here. Of course, you can also go in and automate the cutoff filter, but I think this time we're actually already good with a simple volume automation here. So let's see how that sounds in the track. And of course, we also need to add some more automations. A very common technique, for example, is to use an auto filter just on your kick and bass group. And we want to carve out all the low frequencies right in front of the drop. So let's just add a simple automation here real quick. And in the original track, we see a very nice delay which is coming in on the bass here. So let's just try to use a simple automation here as well. And that should already create a very nice interest right in front of the drop. Now before I'm gonna play the whole track, I would like to let you know that this template is of course free to download for all my Patreons. And you will find the link for that in the description. Freedom, 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 freedom. So if you enjoyed watching this video, I would highly appreciate it if you leave a like and a comment under this video. It really helps my channel out quite a lot. So let's just enjoy this template and have a nice day, guys. I see you in the next one. Freedom, freedom, freedom. Freedom.